Okay, hello guys. So today I make video in evening, evening. So I just finished my work today. So very tired. Uh, Maybe in this video I don't know want to talk or what, but I think we can just read an article in a website. So let's take a look. If you know Paul Graham, so we we can read uh Paul Graham blogs. So who is Paul Graham? Paul Graham is a computer scientist. So he is if you know Y Combinator, so I know him because of he is an important people in Y Combinator. Yeah, we can take a look in his blog. You can see the blog is very simple and old. He writes many of essay in here. Maybe we can read one of this essay. uh, we can pick we can pick the lesson to unlearn the Airbnb. So yeah, today I want to reading one essay, English essay, Vandermood. Vandermood. Yeah, let's read this article. Okay. Okay, September. Whoa, this is new. Yeah, 2024, September 2024. At a YC event last week, Brian Chesky gave a talk that everyone who was there will remember. Most founder I talked to afterwards said it was the best they ever heard. Ron Conway, I, I think I heard this on social media. Ron Conway, for the first time in his life, forgot to take notes. I'm not going to try to reproduce it here. Instead, I want to talk about a question it raised. The theme of Brian's talk was that the conventional wisdom about how to run larger companies is mistaken. As Airbnb grew, well-meaning people advised him that he had to run the company in a certain way for it to scale. Their advice could be optimistically summarized as hire good people and give them room to do their job. He followed this advice, and the result were disastrous. I don't know what's the meaning of this. So by studying how Steve Jobs, so he had to figure out a better way on his own, which he did partly by studying how Steve Jobs ran Apple. So far, it seems to be working. Airbnb's free cash flow margin is now among the best in Silicon Valley. The audience at this event include a lot of the most successful founder we funded. And one after another said that the same thing he had happened to them. They've been given the same advice about how to run their company as they grew. But instead of helping their company, it had damaged them. Okay. Why was everyone telling this founder the wrong thing? That was the big mystery to me. And after mulling it over for a bit, I figured out the answer. What they were being told was how to run a company you hadn't founded. How to run a company if you are merely a professional manager. But this, I don't know this, so much less effective that to founder it feels broken. And oh, there are things founder can do. And not doing them favor because of its in effect. There are two different ways to run a company, founder modes and manager mode. Okay. Till now, most people, even in Silicon Valley, had implicitly assumed that scaling a startup meant switching to manager mode. But we can infer the existence of another mode from the dismay of founders who have tried it and the success of their attempt to escape from it. There are, as far as I know, no books specifically about founder mode. S- Businesses school don't know it exists. All we have so far are the experiment of individual founders who have been figuring it out for themselves. But now that we know that what we are looking for, we can search for it. I hope in a few years founder mode will be as well understood as manager mode. We can already guess at some of the ways it will differ. The way managers are taught to run company seems to be like modular designs, in the sense that you treat sub-tree of the organization chart as black boxes. You tell your direct reports what to do, and it's up to them to figure out how. But you don't get involved in the detail of what they do. Yeah, ini manager mode. That would be micromanaging them, which is bad. So in manager mode, uh, you don't get involved in the detail, because if you involve too much in execution in detail, uh, yeah, micromanaging. Hire good people and give them room to do their job sounds great when it's described that way, doesn't it? Except in practice, judging from the report of founder after founder, where this often turns out to mean is hire professional fakers and let them drive the company into the ground. One I noticed, but in Brian's talk and when talking to the two founders afterward, was the idea of being gaslit. Founder feels like they are being gaslit from both sides by the people telling them they have to run the company like manager, and by the people working for them when they do. Usually, when everyone around you disagrees with you, your default assumption should be that you're mistaken. But this is one of the rare exceptions. VC, uh, venture capitals, who haven't been founders themselves don't know how founders should run companies. And C-level access and as a class includes some of the most skillful liars of the world. Whatever founder mode consists of, it's pretty clear that it's going to break the principle that the CEO should engage with the company only via his or her direct reports. Skip level meetings will become the norm instead of a practice. So unusual that there's a name for it. And once you abandon that constraint, there are a huge number of permutation to choose from. For example, Steve Jobs used to run an annual retreat for what he considered the 100 most important people at Apple. And these were not the 100 people highest on the org chart. Can you imagine the force of will it will take to do this at the average company? And yet, imagine how useful such a thing could be. It could make a big company feel like a startup. Steve presumably would not have kept some having this retreat if they didn't work. But I never heard of another company doing this. So is it a good idea or bad one? We still don't know. That's how little we know about founder mode. Yeah, I think if you are a businessman, a founder, um, actually, I don't very understand the essay, but what I can take of the essay is there is no no black and white area, like uh bad thing or good things in your decision as a founder is hard to measure. So every industry, every businesses, every startup have a unique environment, have a unique cases. So I think there is no strict rule, strict theory to use as a guideline. So you can just implement one of or several rules in the word, like the program that Steve Jobs ran in Apple. You can bring to your company, but you can customize the program. So the program should be fit to your company. I think, yeah. Obviously, obviously, founders can keep running a 2000-person company the way they ran it when it had 20. There's going to have to be some amount of delegation. Where's the border of autonomy enough, and how sharp they are will probably vary from company to company. Yeah, they'll even vary from time to time within the same company as manager and trust. So founder mode will be more complicated than manager mode, but it will also work better. We already know that from the example of individual founders grouping their way toward it. Indeed, another prediction I'll make about founder mode is that once we figure out what it is, we'll find that a number of individual founders were already most of the way there, except that in doing what they did, they were regarded by many as eccentric or worse. Curiously enough, it is an encouraging thought that we still know so little about founder mode. Look, look at what founder have achieved already, and yet they've achieved this against a headwind of bad advice. Imagine what they'll do once we can tell them how to run their companies like Steve Jobs instead of John Sculley. Yeah, first I can learn in this article is if you have uh if you have an employee, you can give them space or room to them to do their jobs, to learn new knowledge, new skill, and implement in your company. So you can just tell them what the metrics that should be achieved by them, and you uh, you can pass the question about how to achieve the metric to your employee. Yeah. So very different when you micromanaging and you give the employee room or space to them to explore new way, better way, creative way, and so on. Okay. And uh the last is about founder model. So I think uh there's no like a book or a lesson in campus university that um that have a set of rule or the theory about founder mode. So founder mode i- is very apa ya, kayak very unique in every companies, every industry. So it depends on you as a founder. You have your knowledge, your experience in your maybe your past work experience, past your organization experience, or uh your knowledge because you're reading a book, you watch a video, or you just learn how like Steve Jobs run Apple and so on. So every knowledge that you know, the experience that you have can build you to have your unique founder mode. But I think there is a several, like principle, yeah, several principle to know, to recognize if you are in founder mode or just manager mode. So yeah, I don't think you understand my speaking, but I try. Yeah, maybe just maybe for this day I can just read an article. So I think this is enough. Thank you so much and goodbye.